Cowboys Nation. Today, we're diving into something that could completely change the trajectory of this team in the upcoming season. We're talking about the Dallas Cowboys and the massive salary cap space they could create, potentially reaching up to $100 million. That kind of flexibility would finally allow this franchise to make serious moves in free agency and target the players they need to compete at the highest level. For years, the Cowboys have been criticized for their cap management, and some people have even spread misinformation about how much space the team actually has. But today, we're breaking it all down in detail so you can see exactly how this is possible and why the narrative about cap problems is wildly overstated. Right now, the numbers you might be seeing from various outlets are a little misleading. Officially, there's around $32 million in negative cap space when you look at it the wrong way, but that doesn't tell the whole story. Differences in projections and how the salary cap is calculated can make these numbers appear worse than they are. SpotTrack, which is usually closer to the final figure, suggests a slightly higher figure, and the reality is the final number could shift by a few million either way. Plus, draft pick money, which can add roughly $10 million, isn't even included in those basic figures. So, when people talk about being over the cap, they're not seeing the complete picture. Once you factor in all the nuances, the Cowboys have far more room to maneuver than critics are letting on. The bigger picture here is what really matters. The Cowboys have too many defensive holes to sit back and play it safe. Winning 9 or 10 games every year is fine, but that's not what this franchise is ultimately aiming for. The goal is a championship, plain and simple. And to do that, you can't let claims of salary cap restrictions hold you back. In today's NFL, it's all about strategic cash management. Every team can manipulate the cap to create opportunities, and the Cowboys have the tools to do exactly that. The $100 million figure I mentioned earlier represents a sort of maximum end. And even if they don't reach it fully, creating $50 to $60 million in space is entirely achievable. That alone would allow the team to target a handful of high-impact players in free agency without having to fill every single roster spot with new signings. Some of the first steps the Cowboys can take are incredibly simple. These are moves built right into existing contracts, often referred to as simple restructures. They don't require lengthy negotiations because the mechanisms are already included in the players' deals. For instance, Dak Prescott's contract allows for a restructure that could free up $30.9 million. This is a natural feature of his deal, designed to maximize flexibility over the course of the contract. CeeDee Lamb could provide another $19 million through a restructure, and even if the team adjusts slightly, that's a huge chunk of cap space. Tyler Smith's long-term deal could free up nearly $18 million, and Osa Odigizua could save $12 million. Even smaller restructures on players like Don Bland and Jake Ferguson add valuable breathing room. When you add up all these moves, you're looking at roughly $93 million in potential salary cap savings, assuming all 6 players remain on the roster. That's a massive foundation for building a competitive team. Beyond that, post-June 1st cuts on players like Terrence Steele, Mike Hooker, Logan Wilson, Brian Anger, and even Jonathan Mingo can contribute another $20 to $30 million in potential savings. Of course, some of these moves have strategic trade-offs, such as the timing of when funds become available or positional needs that must be addressed. But even with those considerations, the Cowboys can realistically create a significant amount of space to pursue top-tier talent. The defensive line is another area where smart cap management can pay dividends. Currently, the Cowboys owe around $63 million to their defensive tackle rotation, which includes Quinn Williams, Kenny Clark, and Osa Odigizua. By restructuring Odigizua and potentially extending Clark and Quinn, the team can save up to $30 million while securing key pieces for the future. This would allow Dallas to maintain a dominant front while still freeing up cash to address other roster needs. Alternatively, they could make some cuts or restructures instead of extensions, though that typically results in slightly lower savings or less long-term stability. Either way, there are multiple pathways to creating space without sacrificing core talent. When you combine the potential savings from restructures, cuts, and extensions, the Cowboys could theoretically free up as much as $121 million. That figure assumes maximum aggressiveness in all areas, which may not happen exactly. But even a more conservative approach still leaves the team with well over $60 million in cap space. That's more than enough to make meaningful additions in free agency, whether that means targeting a few elite players or addressing multiple needs with strategic signings. The takeaway here is clear. The Cowboys have more than enough financial flexibility to improve their roster and make a serious run at a championship this season. Of course, there are additional factors to consider, like draft pick payments, resigning key owned players, and preserving rollover space for midseason moves. Historically, the Cowboys have managed their cap carefully, leaving room for unexpected opportunities or trade possibilities, like the Quinn Williams deal. Extensions on players like George Pickens can also dramatically reduce their cap hits, allowing the team to reinvest in other areas. Even moderate contracts for Javion Clowney or Javonte Williams can be managed in a way that keeps the team in the green overall, further enhancing their flexibility. Ultimately, the message is simple. Do not buy into the narrative that the Cowboys are constrained by cap limitations. The team has the tools, the contracts, and the strategy to create the space necessary to add impact players and keep their championship window open. Whether it's through restructures, careful extensions, or smart cuts, the Cowboys can construct a roster that is competitive at every level. The idea that there isn't enough pie to go around is just not true. With clear planning and execution, this team can transform its roster and position itself as a serious contender in the league. Now that we've gone through how the Cowboys can free up massive salary cap space, let's talk about what they can actually do with it. Having $50 to $60 million, or even closer to $100 million, gives this team an unprecedented opportunity to reshape the roster, particularly on the defensive side of the ball, where the holes have been glaring for years. The reality is, you don't need to sign a dozen free agents to make an impact. A handful of carefully chosen players can completely change the dynamic of this team. It's about quality over quantity, and the Cowboys have the resources to focus on difference makers, whether it's a veteran presence on the defensive line, a lockdown cornerback, or a pass rusher who can consistently pressure quarterbacks. Let's start with the defensive line, which remains the cornerstone of Dallas's strategy. With players like Quinn Williams, Kenny Clark, and Osa Odighizuwa locked in through restructures or extensions, the team can maintain its front while still freeing up cash for other positions. Securing these defensive tackles ensures the Cowboys can keep running their five-man front looks, which have been so effective at controlling the line of scrimmage. Beyond that, the Cowboys could target one or two high-end free agents to complement this group, adding depth and talent without having to completely rebuild the defensive line. The goal here is clear. Strengthen what you already have while eliminating weaknesses that opponents can exploit. Linebacker and secondary upgrades are another area where this salary cap flexibility can make a huge difference. The Cowboys have struggled at times to consistently pressure quarterbacks and defend against dynamic offenses, which is where a top-tier linebacker or cornerback could change the game. By allocating a portion of their newly created cap space to these positions, Dallas could address multiple problem areas without compromising the rest of the roster. Unlike past years, when spending seemed scattershot or limited, this approach allows for focused, high-impact signings that align with the team's championship window. Even a single elite acquisition in these spots could drastically alter the team's performance on both sides of the ball. Of course, the quarterback and skill positions are not to be ignored. Dak Prescott is locked in, but maintaining his offensive weapons, CeeDee Lamb, Tyler Smith, and the like, is just as important. Restructures here create room not only to keep your core offensive group intact, but also to bring in complementary pieces. For example, an additional wide receiver, a versatile tight end, or a creative offensive back could open up the playbook in ways that stretch defenses and create more scoring opportunities. The beauty of this strategy is that it's not about throwing money everywhere. It's about targeting the right additions that maximize the talent already on the roster. Special teams also come into play, particularly when thinking about post-June first cuts and efficiency. While positions like punter or kicker don't carry the glamour of a defensive end or a wide receiver, Saving $3 to $5 million on those spots can contribute meaningfully to the overall cap strategy. Every dollar saved here is a dollar that can go toward a player who has the potential to swing a game or a series. Dallas has historically been smart about balancing these smaller savings with bigger roster needs, and this year's cap flexibility only enhances their options. Beyond free agency, the draft remains an essential piece of this puzzle. The Cowboys have the financial power to sign multiple free agents, but they also need to maintain flexibility to invest in rookies. Draft pick money, which was mentioned earlier as roughly $10 million, allows the team to bring in young talent while still being aggressive in free agency. Smart drafting, combined with targeted veteran signings, creates a balanced roster that can contribute immediately while also preparing for sustained success over the next several years. The goal is not just to fill holes, but to create depth and continuity across all units. Managing this cap space effectively also means anticipating future moves. The Cowboys have to consider rollover space for mid-season adjustments or trade opportunities, which historically has been a key aspect of their strategy. For instance, if an unexpected chance to trade for a defensive asset arises, having $10 to $20 million in rollover cap room allows the team to act quickly without compromising their ongoing roster construction. This forward-thinking approach separates franchises that remain competitive year after year from those that stagnate under rigid financial constraints. Dallas has the tools and experience to navigate this successfully, and this season is shaping up to be a perfect example of that. Finally, it's about timing and prioritization. The Cowboys have a clear window to win now, and the financial flexibility they can create ensures they can act decisively. From restructuring core players to strategically cutting or extending others, the pieces are all in place. They can target high-value free agents who make an immediate difference, secure key draft picks, and maintain roster flexibility for unforeseen opportunities. With the right execution, this is a team that can address its weaknesses, reinforce its strengths, and truly make a championship push without being hampered by the salary cap. But before we continue, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and give this video a like. Your support helps us keep bringing you the latest updates on the Dallas Cowboys. Feel free to share your thoughts on the news in the comments as well. Whispers are swirling around Dallas as tensions reportedly flare between CeeDee Lamb and the Cowboys coaching staff. Sources close to the team suggest that Lamb, one of the franchise's brightest stars, recently defied instruction from offensive coordinator Schottenheimer during a crucial moment on the field. Eyewitnesses say Lamb stormed off the sideline visibly frustrated, leaving teammates and coaches stunned. The incident, while not officially confirmed by the team, has fueled speculation about his relationship with the coaching staff and whether cracks are forming in the locker room chemistry. Fans and analysts are now questioning if this is a one-time flare-up or a sign of deeper discord. Lamb, known for his competitive fire and remarkable talent, has always been the centerpiece of the Cowboys' offense. But moments like this raise eyebrows about leadership dynamics and team cohesion. Some insiders suggest that his frustration may stem from play-calling disagreements or what he perceives as a lack of trust in high-pressure situations. Others argue it could simply be the intensity of a player who refuses to settle for anything less than excellence, though public displays of anger rarely sit well in a professional locker room. Social media has erupted with reactions as clips of Lamb's exit, whether real-time footage or fan capture highlights, circulate endlessly. Pundits debate the implications for both his standing with Schottenheimer and the team's locker room morale. Could this spark a conversation about the need for clearer communication between star players and coaching staff? Or is it just the kind of heated moment that burns out quickly in the NFL heat? Regardless, one thing is certain. The spotlight on Lamb is brighter than ever. Rumors of tension, whether exaggerated or grounded in truth, are already dominating sports chatter. Cowboys fans are left to wonder whether this clash will be a turning point in Lamb's career with the team or merely a footnote in what has otherwise been an extraordinary rise. For now, the NFL world watches closely, hungry for updates as one of the game's most electrifying players navigates the tricky waters of talent, ego, and expectations. That's it for this update. If you enjoyed the video and want to keep receiving exclusive news about the Dallas Cowboys, please subscribe to our channel and give this video a like. We always look forward to your comments and opinions. See you in the next video.